As a skill building company committed to constructive feedback, we at Sage Presence tend to avoid do's and don'ts, particularly don'ts. The idea of a don't list or the idea of just saying don't can tend to put people's attention in an inappropriate direction, particularly when they're under pressure. So I'm hesitant to create a video about things that you shouldn't do. I'm going to do it today, though, with the idea that you want to take this stuff in and think about it, consider it, check in with yourself when there's no pressure. See if you are the kind of person who uses these phrases that I'm about to talk through when there's no pressure. And if you are one of those people who uses these terms when there's no pressure, see if you can start to weed them out of your conversation when there's no pressure. And that way, when the pressure turns up, they won't be so readily available. They won't be popping out of your mouth nearly as much as they do now. So, short list of words and phrases that we recommend that you do not use when you are delivering a presentation that's important. We're going to start with obviously and of course. I think these are phrases that people use when they're trying to present with more confidence than they really have. The thing is, they will use these phrases when things aren't terribly obvious and when people don't necessarily know them. And so they can come across as arrogant, or they can come across as desperately trying to sound more confident than they actually are. So just want to recommend don't use either of those phrases. It's not necessarily obvious, and there isn't necessarily, and of course, this conclusion. Second thing is sorry. So often I hear people make mistakes and then apologize to the audience. And the thing is, the mistake itself is not that big a deal. Everybody makes mistakes. It's human. And we don't need to call attention to it. We don't need to apologize for it. We don't need to apologize for being human. So when you make a mistake, notice it and move on. You don't need to apologize. Is a filler term that readily flows from many people's mouths. And I just want you to start noticing, do you use the phrase, It often comes kind of like an or an So what you're going to want to do to get past that is just start to notice if is a phrase that you use a lot. And when it comes up, opt for silence. Just prefer to be silent instead of say that phrase, Finally, I want you to pay attention to the words I think and probably. I think and probably are terms that can diminish the sense of expertise that people have for you. People often use these phrases because they're worried about coming across as too confident. This is a scenario that you're going to have to pay attention for yourself. Maybe check in with other people. See if it's appropriate for you to use these phrases. There are definitely some circumstances where I think and probably are appropriate, but I often hear these phrases come out of people's mouths when they need to portray themselves as experts in something, say in a presentation that's selling the team for a particular job, and this expert is part of the team portraying their expertise as a really important asset to the team. And this person is accidentally lowering themselves in the minds of the decision makers by saying, well, yeah, I think so. Or, probably blah, 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 blah. You want to start to notice if you are doing that and just leave these phrases out. Instead of saying, well, I think that blah, 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 you can just say, yeah, this is what is true. So start to pay attention to these magically problematic words. And if you are not at all sure that they are problems for you, check in with people around you. Just ask people, hey, when I said blah, blah, blah just now, when I said I think just now, or probably just now, how did that land? Don't just invite honesty, but like insist on it. Really ask them, is there anything problematic in how that phrase landed for you? Start paying attention to these phrases. Notice if they come out of your mouth and notice if they do produce the results or tend to produce the results that I'm talking about here. If you assess that, yep, these phrases are coming out of your mouth and yep, they are affecting how people perceive you, then just choose to leave them out. Notice and choose to leave them out. And notice how leaving them out raises your stock in the eyes of the people that you're talking to.